Hey, my name's Jaz, and in this video, which I'm going to keep very short, I'm going to talk about well-being. Only I'm not, because well-being conjures up spas and cake stays. I'm going to talk about a way of being. That's more realistic, isn't it? Because people say, oh no, I don't need to think about well-being, or I don't really bother about my well-being. Well, you're not going to say I don't think about my way of being. I just kind of bumble my way through and hope for the best. Most people want to feel that they've got a purpose. They want to feel connected to something. So way of being is an easier way of looking at how you invest in your most valuable resource, yourself. Well-being, if that conjures up, it makes my eyes roll to the back of my head. But if it conjures up things for you, it's like, oh, more yoga. Although yoga's great, I do yoga. Then reframe that story, because the risk you are taking at ignoring your most valuable resource is too frightening to ignore. That's why I talk about well-being, way of being, not well-being. And that's why I reframe that story for people, because I'm dissatisfied. I'm driven by dissatisfaction, if I'm honest. I'm dissatisfied with people turning the volume down on themselves, settling, especially when it's in a toxic situation at work or in a relationship that is not serving them. I'm so dissatisfied with that, because I know that when people stand up as their true self, they can make such a difference. That's what happened for me. I had 5 everyday heroes that I talk about in my TEDx talk. They knew why they were in the room. They were able to do withness, not do something to me or for me. They stood with me, shoulder to shoulder. That they had invested in themselves to the point where they could give of themselves to others without burning out. So they were consistent. They built authentic relationships. They showed up as their fullest selves. They had high expectations of me. So these tiny things made all the difference. It meant that I was able to change my story and move from broken to beautiful. But that doesn't happen if you're not taking care of yourself, because at the same time as my 5 everyday heroes, which were educators for me, I had like 95 other educators, social workers, health visitors, adults in my life who are not included in the 5 everyday heroes. There was a cast of accidental saviours as well, but lots of people were tired and had their own issues going on and weren't able to process them in a way that enabled them to show up for me. I'm thinking particularly of my history teacher who used to throw a chalkboard rubber at my head. but mainly because he was so agitated. He didn't have the emotional literacy or resilience in order to navigate the chaos that being in charge of 11-year-olds brought. So he would look for the one that caused the trouble and shout them down, which meant that we never got on, which was a shame, because I was an opportunity for him to do what he came into teaching to do, make a difference. But unfortunately, if you are not showing up for yourself, how are you going to show up for anyone else? Which sounds a bit like a RuPaul quote, but it's literally true. I don't want some bitter, twisted, knackered, hateful person showing up for my kids at sixth form or at university, or at school. They get that at home. They've got me at home. I want someone who is rested, who is well, who knows what they need to do when they don't know what to do. I want a waggle. A waggle stands for what a good one looks like. And usually we do it in a piece of work. When I was teaching, it would be show a piece of writing, get the kids to deconstruct why is it good, here's some adjectives, here's some punctuation. Then we use that criteria to build our own piece of work. What a good one looks like, a waggle. But you're a waggle. You're like a living waggle that your friends, your family, children, if you have them, your siblings, your parents look to. So being the best example of yourself, it's kind of a duty, You've got one job. To be full fat you. That's your only job. So this is why I'm so driven to talk about well-being, way of being. And the first course I did was called Wellbeing for Idiots, myself included. Because if it was a matter of accessibility, there are plenty of videos on YouTube, how to be fit, how to be healthy, how to meditate, how to be a size 8. We'd be running everywhere, working out, waking up early and writing a gratitude list. There's plenty of opportunities, plenty of videos telling you how to do it. It's not about accessibility. It's about the story we tell ourselves about time and how we haven't got any, even though we've got the same amount of time as everybody else. And it's funny how much time you've got when you stop doing things that are a complete waste of time. You've actually got a lot of time. And this idea of saving time, what for? So that when you're dead, you can go, you're on your deathbed, you can be like, no, I've got 47 minutes left. It doesn't work like that. So this idea of doing a pre-mortem on the end of your life and the regret you have for not being brave enough to be yourself, or not working too much or spending time, let's do a pre-mortem. Let's not wait till there. Let's look now and say, if I had the courage to be myself, what would I be? That's the question that I want us to be looking at. And part of that, if you are going to be the human you were designed to be and not the human the world has squished you into being, then you have got to start investing in you in a way that is real. So if you're a leader, set the tone. Don't be saying to everyone, get enough sleep, and then wake everyone up at 2:00 with emails. Don't do that, because you're their boss. They're going to want to answer to them, even though they're like, no, I must guard my boundaries. You should be leaving work early on a Friday, or on time at least. And you should be saying, so long, suckers, I've got a whole life outside of this place, showing them what is possible, encouraging people to be at work when they're at work, and to be out of work when they're out of work. And can I make a plea? Can we stop calling them non-work days, as if work is the gold standard of humaning and non-work is something else? No. Work days, fine. Life days, okay? I'm not taking a non-work day. I'm having a life day. How many of those have you had in the last 4 months? Second of all, if you're not a leader, if you're a lead, your boss is not your mum. I mean, I say this, and it's not their responsibility to look after your well-being, right? You've got to participate in your own rescue. My husband used to be a lifeguard, and nobody wanted to partner with him when they were practicing, because he's quite big, he's quite muscly, and he's heavy to drag along. But he was great at saving other people. And the thing he always says, the best thing to do when you're being saved, if you're falling into the water and someone save you, is stop flapping your arms around and just relax and let me do the work. But you get there quicker if you do if you calm down, so you can do a bit of paddling and you can kick your legs. It's just when you're panicking, that's not helpful. So you've got to participate in your own rescue, especially if you're jumping in a swimming pool with your pajamas on and rescuing a brick. I never know why that was a thing. But you've got to participate in your own rescue, which means that you can't rely on someone else to write your own story of excellence for you. That pen is in your hand. Again, I am telling you stuff from painful lessons that I have almost learned and I'm still grasping in some place. I don't have all the answers. I don't have many answers, but I have a bag full of questions, and I'm going to keep answering them until I get to a point where there is at least some other way of trying to do the same thing. Wellbeing's important. It's important at work because we spend so much time at work, and this whole story of, like, when I first started running my business, I used to have meetings. I'd have people saying, can you meet me at 9:00? And I'd say, no, I can't, I've got another meeting. I didn't have another meeting. I was doing the school run. But in my story was, if people see you, you're doing the school run, it looks like you're not committed to work because you're committed to your kids. It's like, why can't I be both? And there's times when I'm working and I'm here, full fat jazz. And there's time when I'm having life and I'm there, full fat jazz. And I'm just showing up as my fullest self in every area. I'm not liberating people at work and then abdicating at home and just collapsing on the sofa like an exhausted lab rat at 8:00. I mean, I do that, but that's out of choice. That's so I can heal and watch Netflix. So it's really important. And I just want to make a plea. Not forget about yourself, right? I'm not even forget it. I'm making a plea on behalf of the people that love you. My husband told me when I was teaching he hated my job because I gave the best of myself to my job and he got what was left. My youngest child drew a picture of his family in school, and my husband was playing football with him and my middle son. My daughter was painting and I was on my laptop. And he took it into school, the little traitor, and showed it in school. But it was great. Here's the point. At that point, I can choose 2 G's, guilt or gratitude. Okay? Guilt is, I'm a terrible parent, I'm a terrible mum, I'm a terrible person, and just lie face down on the floor in a sleeping bag. Easy. Gratitude requires more intention. Gratitude is me going, how good is it that I'm getting this feedback in chapter 5 of Raising Leo? It means I can change chapter 6. Gratitude takes a bit of a breath and a bit of intention, but it makes a huge lot of difference. So here's my question to you. How much of your time are you dedicating towards investing in yourself? How much of your time are you giving and gifting to other people? And when are you going to address that balance so that you can actually keep yourself topped up, filling from the saucer, not from the cup? That's my question to you. Give me an answer.